All right, let's just jump right in. We are all navigating this wild digital world. And let's be honest, it is getting tougher and tougher to figure out what's real and what's not. So today, we're going to break down this whole challenge of fake news and arm you with the tools you need to build your own digital shield. The simple little story, it just hits the nail on the head. It's a perfect snapshot of the huge generational shift in how we get our information. For so many younger people, life is filtered through these platforms and creators, and that completely changes the game for how news and ideas spread. And if you want to see the scale of that shift, look no further than this number, 79%. According to the Arab Youth Survey, that's how many young Arabs now get their news primarily from social media. Just think about that. It's up from only 25% just a few years back. This isn't just a small trend. It's a complete revolution in how information moves. And yeah, there's a word for this feeling of being constantly overwhelmed by information. It's called an infodemic. It's this nonstop fire hose of content, especially during big world events. It makes sorting out fact from fiction incredibly hard because a lot of this stuff is engineered to bypass our logic and go straight for our emotions. It leaves us all feeling kind of stressed and not knowing what to believe. So this brings us to the most critical question, right? We're all living our lives online. We're digital natives now. But are we actually prepared for it? Do we have the skills to navigate this world safely? Well, let's take a look at the evidence. So, researchers at Stanford's History Education Group decided to tackle that exact question. They set up a major study to see how well high school students, our future voters, our future leaders, could actually judge the information they find online. And the results? Well, to put it lightly, they were pretty eye-opening. Okay, get ready for this. A whopping 96% of the high school students they studied couldn't see a pretty obvious red flag. They looked at a climate change website funded by the fossil fuel industry and didn't think that funding source might, affect its credibility. They just saw a slick-looking website and took it at face value. The bias was hiding in plain sight. And it didn't stop there. Over half the students, 52%, saw a really grainy, anonymous video that claimed to show ballot stuffing in the US, and they believed it was strong evidence of voter fraud. The catch? The video was actually from Russia. It just goes to show you how powerful a piece of manipulated content can be when our guard is down. The professor who led the study, Sam Weinberg, didn't pull any punches. He said the results were simply troubling. And they are, because they suggest that the next generation is walking into this digital minefield largely unprepared to tell what's real from what's designed to mislead them. So this really brings the question back to all of us, doesn't it? How confident are you in your own skills? It is so easy to think, oh, I would never fall for that. But this data shows it's a lot harder than we think. This is a skill, and like any skill, it needs to be trained. Okay, so if we want to fight back, we first have to understand what we're actually up against. The term fake news gets thrown around a lot, but there's a lot of different flavors of it. You gotta know your enemy. So let's define our terms. At its heart, fake news is basically deception wearing a journalism costume. It's built to look and feel like a real news article, but its only goal is to mislead you. And it almost always leans on super sensational, emotional language to get you to click and share before you even have a chance to think. Now, this next part is super important. There's a huge difference between disinformation and misinformation. Think of it this way. Disinformation is a lie created on purpose to do harm. It's a weapon. Misinformation, on the other hand, is a mistake. It's when people share false stuff without realizing it's false. They might think they're helping, but they're accidentally part of the problem. And it gets even more detailed. A media expert named Claire Wardle actually broke down this information disorder into different types. You have things like satire that people mistake for real news. Then you have more sinister stuff like false context, where someone takes a real photo but attaches it to a completely fake story. And then at the very worst end of the spectrum, you have totally fabricated content, stuff that is 100% made up. Okay, that's the problem. It's big, it's messy, and it can feel pretty overwhelming. But here's the good news. It is not hopeless. We can all learn how to build that digital shield to protect ourselves. So let's get practical. Here's a simple but really powerful 3-step process you can use anytime you come across something online that makes you feel a really strong emotion, like anger or shock. That feeling is your cue to pause. The people who make this stuff know that when your emotions are running high, your critical thinking skills take a nosedive. First things first, investigate the source. And I don't mean just glancing at the website's logo. Open a new browser tab and do some digging. Google the name of the site. What's their About Us page say? Who's funding them? What do other, more established sources say about them? You're basically being a detective, looking for credibility. Step 2, look for other coverage. This one is huge. If a massive breaking story is actually true, you're going to see it on multiple reputable news sites. If the only place you can find it is on some weird blog you've never heard of, that is a gigantic red flag. And finally, step 3, actually analyze the content itself. Read the article. Is the language all hyped up and emotional? Is it trying to make you angry? Does it cite any real evidence or just make vague claims? Are there a ton of spelling mistakes? These are all classic signs of junk news. Now, doing this stuff yourself is absolutely your first and best line of defense. But if we're going to solve this problem for real, we have to think bigger. This is a shared responsibility, a team effort. So, who's on the team? Well, pretty much everybody. We need schools to start teaching digital literacy from a young age. We need the big tech platforms to do a better job of designing their systems to slow the spread of this junk. And yeah, it also comes back to us. Every single one of us, to be more thoughtful about what we consume and especially what we share. I really love this idea because it reframes the whole thing. We like to think that truth is just out there, waiting for us to find it. But in the world we live in now, that's not enough. Recognizing the truth has become a skill, an active skill that we have to learn, we have to practice, and we have to teach. So I'll leave you with this one last thought. In this new era, the truth isn't something you just find anymore. It's something you build. You build it with every source you check, with every claim you question, with every emotional headline you resist. The power, really, is in your hands. So the question is, how will you build it?